Yes, he did. He gives it to Henry. Henry trying to track this.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Great Sports Debates. Today I want to hit on UFC 303 really quick, just a couple of bets that I really like. We may do in-depth every fight, but there's one fight I want to get out to you. We're also going to talk about the recent NBA trade and why I think it's a lot more lopsided than most people are saying. And then we'll get to the meat of the bones. We're going to do some of our NFL bets. Remember, all NFL bets are available to members. But I'm going to give you a few of the season-long props and maybe talk about a few win-loss records and playoffs. So with that, let's jump right into UFC 303. As you guys know, Conor McGregor is out. Now, we're hearing it was an injury with sparring. He broke his toe. Wasn't wearing the proper protective equipment. So we assume the fight with Chandler is still going to happen at some point. However, I think this unlocked a really big opportunity that you guys should jump on. And this is why. Jumping on UFC fights early line is where you make a lot of money. And I've given past examples before. You know, we jumped on Islam versus Poirier early, and we got Islam at minus 450, and we saw it as high as minus 6 something, close to minus 700 some places by the time the fight came around. So I was able to make a lot more on our bets on Islam and get more return on investment. Same thing happened with Sean O'Malley versus Cheeto, the second fight. We jumped on that right away as soon as I found it open somewhere at minus 200, minus 205, and that ballooned to like minus 300 something. So this is another one of those, and it's right on with the Sean O'Malley story, where this is a fight we've literally seen before. We've seen Alex Pereira and Yuri fight, and this might be my favorite bet. Not because it's the most obvious. I mean, you've seen we've made $8,000 plus bets on Bo Nickel, but the payout's not great. Pereira's only minus 175, and he's a terrible matchup for Yuri. Yuri keeps his chin up, he's very hittable, and Alex is going to touch him at some point. So you might want to go look Alex by knockout, or you could take a little bit less money and take the sure thing, Alex at minus 175. He's going to be able to hit Yuri with leg kicks. It's going to damage what he's going to be able to do. I mean, I feel like Yuri's only chance is to get his hands on Alex early and get him down to the ground. But Pereira should be a lot bigger favorite than minus 175. We bet this one big. We bet several thousand. If you're a member, you can check that bet and see exactly what we did there. As well as some of our other UFC 303 bets. But that's one I'm going to give you free here on the pod. All right, shifting gears. Let's talk NBA. So we had a recent trade. And I tried to get one of my buddies on that's a Bulls fan because he actually liked getting Josh Giddey. But here's the problem. Let me break it down for you. Yes, Josh Giddey's a younger guy on a rookie contract, but that rookie contract only has 1 year. So both Alex Caruso and Giddey are essentially have 1 year left. OKC knows that they're not going to re-sign Giddey. His playing time has declined every year. In the playoffs, he averaged about 10 minutes a game. He can't shoot. He can do some playmaking type stuff, and he's big. But his lack of defense and the ability of not being able to shoot just made him unplayable for the Thunder. So I don't know that I don't think this is a move that makes the Bulls better. I don't think he fits into a position of need for them. So I really don't get what the Bulls are going to do here. And people are saying, well, Caruso's probably going to get 4 years, close to $80 million. What do you think Giddey's going to get? He's young. So did you make the trade to get Giddey for 1 year to see what he's worth? Or are you going to pay him now, Because if you don't pay him now, he's either going to fizzle and you're going to have nothing and no one's going to want him, or he's going to play good and the pay is going to be inflated massively. So hit me in the comments section if you like Giddey to the Bulls. I don't at all. And in fact, I think it makes the Thunder an interesting pick next year because you're adding another defender to a team that's got Wallace, and they got Lou Dort, who I think is underrated on the defensive end. He's a stud. And so he fits right into that environment. Plus, he feels a really strong need being a guy that can hit open threes. And he's going to get more open shots in OKC because SGA, he draws a lot of people to him. And that was OKC's biggest thing, is when they kicked out, guys could not make open threes. So I think this is a great fit. They gave away essentially nothing, a guy who was not going to play for them, and they improved their roster. That's great GM work. It's not always the splashy signings. It's moves like this that win teams titles. And we'll have to see what else they do to maybe kind of adjust where they fit in the conference, because they were already one of the better teams in the West. I mean, they were the number 1 seed coming in. So, really like that move for a Thunder. A+ deal for them. If you disagree in the comments, man, let me know why, man. Let me know what I'm missing. But I feel like this is a slam dunk. All right, into the meat and potatoes here on this fantastic Friday. I'm going to give you not necessarily our best picks, but just some of the unique bets, things we like. I'll give you some of my Lions picks, being a Lions homer. And one of our bigger bets that I will give here is Jameson Williams over 675.5 yards. So here's what I'm thinking. The number's artificially low because his first 2 seasons haven't really been good. His first year was terrible. He showed flashes of electricity. And, if you just look at the numbers, you're going to say, hey, man, what are you thinking? But this is why it's a great opportunity to buy low. If you look at the last, 3-4 weeks of the season and into the playoffs, Williams' role had expanded quite a bit. We're talking about him getting 50, 60 yards a game, which doesn't sound like a lot, but say you take 50 yards over an NFL season, you're already looking at a guy that's going to be posting up over that number. And the other thing is the Lions offense is going to get a lot of yards. He's right now slotted into the number 2 wide receiver position, which is going to give him more opportunity. And if you've seen J-Mo at all, you know this guy is completely electric. I mean, he's going to break some plays. So that's yardage right there. On top of all of that, Dan Campbell is saying this guy has shown the most improvement of anyone from the early training camp and OTA type workouts. Which sometimes you would say, hey, that's just lip service. But he gave that without being asked about J-Mo at all. And Dan doesn't typically do that kind of fluff guys up type of stuff. So while that seems like a minor thing, that's just another piece of the puzzle. We've seen his ability to be outstanding in college. We've seen him be electric on an NFL field. Now he's going to have more time and opportunity. And if him and Goff can click, because Goff has hit him short on a few long balls. So we already know J-Mo has the post, the corner, all that figured out. He's already above NFL averages, not just in running those routes, but the success rates. Now, if he can get some of the basics down and get better with less dead foot movement and beating press coverage a little bit better, hitting some of those slants and other type of routes, this guy could have a really big year. And think about it. Where else is the ball going to go? I mean, even if you chalk Amon-Ra in for 1,500 yards, you got Sam Laporta. Maybe he gets 1,000. After that, you're looking at Khalif Raymond and other guys not necessarily quite as tested. So I think this is a really safe number where he could even miss some games and still hit that number. So we did multiple units on that. Again, members, you can see exactly what we put down. But like I said, this is an important episode for you guys. I mean, I dropped 10K on bets just yesterday in preparation for this show, with more to come on some of these win totals and other things coming up. So this is a great opportunity for some of you guys to, maybe come close to doubling your money out here. All right, on that note, we already talked about Amon-Ra. Amon-Ra had over 1,500 yards here. So I looked at 1,200.5 over, and this offense and him doing, they're all getting better. And as we talked about, with kind of less options, he's always going to be the go-to guy. He's always going to get close to double-digit targets every game. I think 1,200.5 yards is an easy bet for Amon-Ra. We did a little plus the normal bet, not necessarily what we did on JMO, but I like this bet. Now, on the ones that I'm going to give you guys here for free on the pod, this is probably my second favorite pick, at least the ones we're giving away. Remember, members, you can see every bet we make. You can ask anything you want. We're going to give you the inside scoop. But Tyreek Hill over 1350.5. Yeah, I think that was probably the highest number out there. But he's hit over 1,700 yards the last 2 years, and I don't see anything changing there. Well, it's scary that Miami has lost some players on their offensive line and maybe might not be quite as good this year. That's all the more reason that they're going to have to throw the ball. And Tua is good at getting it out, and he knows who to throw it up to when he's in trouble. So Tyreek Hill to hit 1350 is a pretty good bet in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Now again, we're not going to hit all of the bets that we're talking about here because there's a lot of bets to be made. But I'll give you guys a few more of some of the stuff that I really liked. We got Henry with Baltimore. I know this sounds like mixed messaging because I said I'm a little concerned that Baltimore has lost some offensive linemen and they might do a little bit of running back by committee. But when's the last time Derrick Henry hasn't got over 1,000 yards? I mean, I think the year he played 8 games, he was right near there anyhow. So even though he's a little bit older, he's in a better situation than he has been the previous few years. So I like him over 1,000.5 for, at least a small bet. A couple other small bets that I'll give you guys here on the pod. I got Bijan over 925.5 yards. That's less than what he did last year. He's going to have another year in the system, another year to get better. The team's better. Yeah, they're going to be all pass more with Kirk Cousins, but I think they still plan to lean on their running game. And Bijan over 925 yards sounds pretty good to me. Lamar over 650.5 yards. I feel like that's a slam dunk. I think he pretty much does over 650 yards every year. So a little puzzling. Yeah, he could get hurt, but even years where he's missed some games, he's always gotten over 650 rushing yards. So let me know what you see there. Again, we have Henry that's going to be taking some carries. We got an offensive line that we have questions about, just because of the amount of change. But I have a hard time seeing Lamar not get 650 yards. Another one where I feel like you're getting a little bit of a discount, a small bet. Alvin Kamara has not really performed so well, and the Saints aren't great. But at 650.5 yards, I think he's going to do that whether he misses time or splits time. It's just not a high bar for him to pass. On the same token, I like Barkley to go over 1,000 yards. Barkley is going to be in the best position he's been in by far. He's, he hasn't been a 1,000-yard guy consistently, with injuries and such. But instead of running through invisible holes on the Giants, he might be behind the best run blocking line on Philly. Now I know they lost, their center to retirement, but this is a team that still runs the ball pretty well. Maybe a couple teams have some better run blocking lines now, but he's going to one of the better run blocking lines where they have a passing attack and a balanced attack, and I think this is going to be a big year for Barkley if he's ever going to have one. On the defensive side, I like Hutchinson over 10.5 sacks. There's a few I like better, but that's one I'm going to give you. It's kind of right in his average. He hit 9.5 his first year. His second year, I want to say he got 11.5, and most of that late, so that shows good progression. Plus, if you look at things like quarterback pressures and other indicators of sacks, he was really high on those marks, where it's an indication that he's likely to improve there. He's got DJ Reader eating up space in the middle now, so I think Hutchinson's a pretty safe bet. You got some of your other guys that are stalwarts. I mean, TJ Watt, but the number's at 15, so that's kind of tough. I like Myles Garrett at over 13.5, but again, that's cutting it close if anything happens. And Parsons, all those guys have slightly bigger numbers, so I went with Hutch here at over 10.5. There's a couple others for members to check out. Let me know what you think. One other one I want to add is Watson, quarterback for the Browns. I got him actually under. A lot of these are kind of conservative. If the guy plays all the games, they're usually at or close to the over. But I think Watson was kind of horrendous. He could be injury prone at this point. We don't know how much he's going to play. The team likes to run the ball anyhow. So under 34.25.5 I like. I do expect the Browns to be good, but we got to remember they're in a tough division. And Watson just hasn't looked the same since he's been in Cleveland. And I don't know how many weapons he's going to have to help him out in that passing game. So I'm going under on Watson here. There's a lot of things against him as far as hitting those numbers. Couple other quarterback plays, and then we'll move on. I got Goff over 39.75.5. He's been over 4,000 yards both of his years, or at least his last 2 years in Detroit. I want to say he's like 4,100, 4,500. So small bet there. That should be a safe number, I think, assuming nothing happens. And then Bryce Young under 32.50.5. This is a mixed indictment on Bryce Young not being the guy I told you he wasn't going to be, and the Carolina Panthers just not being good. I don't see a whole lot fixing that offense. I feel like they have a lot of the same problems that they had before. So if I missed anything in there, let me know. So some of the playoff bets, the win, losses, over, unders, we'll leave those for the members. I'll give you a couple of picks, not necessarily the best picks, but just some ones from opening weekend where I think the number might change over time, where we jumped on them early. I got Houston -2 at Indy. If Houston's half the hype everyone thinks they are, I know both games Indy played them close, but they should be able to win by a field goal, even if it's at Indy. Houston did a lot, I feel like, to get better in the offseason, and they were already pretty good on the offensive end, whereas Indy, I'm not so sure, and I don't really think that Richardson's going to be an upgrade over Minshew, at least not right away. We'll see what happens. I like Detroit money line versus the Rams. They're at home. I'm expecting them to have a big year. The Rams are a tough team. That's why we went money line there instead of giving away 8 points. So I could see it being close, but I feel like, again, Detroit has made some more improvements, and I think they should be able to pull it out against the Rams week 1. I'll give you 3 more week 2 picks before we wrap it up. I got the Rams -1.5 at Arizona. Again, like I said, I think the Rams are a good team. I think if Matthew Stafford is able to stand free in the pocket, he can shred anybody. And I'm not expecting a whole lot from Arizona. If you disagree, let me know in the comment section. We kind of talk about that in the win-loss episode. Week 2, I got the Browns as a pick'em versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's at Jacksonville. I'm not a big Jacksonville fan, and I'm going to go on a quick little side tangent before we wrap up with our last pick here. I read some bad stuff from this ESPN beat writer, so he gave the Lions a C, and I was trying to figure out why, because I thought they did pretty well this offseason. And his biggest reasoning is Jared Goff and that signing. And while I agree with him, I wasn't a huge fan of giving him that amount of money. With what they're building and what they have, he's a guy they have to keep. I would have been a lot happier if they kept him at, $45 million, vice 52. But the market is what it is, and you got to pay these guys. So he thought that was a bad signing for Goff, yet he gave Jacksonville high marks, and I believe they signed Trevor Lawrence to an even bigger contract. I guess he's younger and people see potential, but there's no world that I'm in where I like Trevor Lawrence better than Jared Goff. And maybe that's just me. You guys can let me know what you think, but the logic that Jacksonville had a good offseason when they signed Lawrence the more money, but Detroit didn't with Goff, paying a bit much for Goff, it just doesn't make sense to me. Detroit's going to be a better team than Jacksonville this year as well. Let me end this on one more pick. We got week 2. I like Atlanta plus 3.5. I did a small bet there at Philly. I do think Philly's going to be good, but the Falcons are one of my surprise teams. I like to win double digits, and we talk about more of that in a couple of the podcasts. I think Kirk Cousins is going to make a big difference on this team. So this was a quick recap. I know it's been about 10 days or so since we jumped on here. So let me know what you think. We're here to talk all things sports betting, UFC, NFL, NBA, and we dabble a little bit in the other stuff. So if you have any questions, comment. If we're making you some money, please like and subscribe. And that all helps motivating to keep the channel going. So thanks a lot.